both in thought and in feeling, even though time be real, to realize the unimportance of time is the gauge of wisdom.
What are you doing right now? What are you trying to change about your experience? What are you hoping will happen next? Whatever you're doing, it's important to recognize that all you have is your mind. It's not that there's no external reality, but the only contact with reality you will ever have is your mind. So as a matter of direct experience, there is no inside or outside of this mind of yours. There's only consciousness and its contents. And if you look closely in this moment, you can discover that consciousness is already free of the problem you're attempting to solve right now.
Yeah, people don't understand time. It's not what you think it is. Complicated. Very complicated.
Time doesn't pass. The passage of time is an illusion, and life is the magician.
People assume that time is a strict progression of cause to effect, but actually, from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, time-wide stuff.
It really stretches the limits of language, and maybe it. I sometimes think poetry and maybe music would express it even better.
Timelessness, if you can't put it into words, really.
The limits of language when we try to express things that are outside of time and cause and effect. Those are the categories we think in. They organize language in our cognitive processes.
You remember being alive yesterday. You hope you're going to be alive tomorrow. So it feels like you are traveling one to the other, but nobody's moving anywhere. Time is a structure relative to ourselves. Time is the space made by our lives.
In the present moment, if the thoughts of the future and memories of the past drop away, the present moment opens up into the infinite or the eternal aspects of being. It loses the sense of time as being this linear thing, and suddenly you're here in the eternal now.
To see the world in a grain of sand and a heaven in a wildflower. Hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour.
The passage of time is an illusion.
Wherever anything's happening, it's happening in the now. And if the memories of the past
You remember being alive yesterday.
and thoughts of the future
You hope you're going to be alive tomorrow.
drop away,
So it feels like you are traveling one to the other,
it loses the sense of time as being this linear thing.
but nobody's moving anywhere.
And suddenly you're here in the eternal now. The present moment opens up into the infinite.
I'm quite fond of the concept in Zen, the eternal world, if you will, is not just before birth and after death, but it's also a portal right in the middle of the present moment.
Free your mind.
And there's meditative techniques that can move us in that direction. And all kinds of other technologies of altering consciousness.
Then you are in a state which we will call meditation. And slowly, without being pushed, your thoughts will come to silence. That is to say, all the verbal, symbolic chatter going on in the skull. Don't try and get rid of it, because that will again produce the illusion that there's a controller. It goes on, it goes on, it goes on, and finally it gets tired of itself and bored and stops. And so then there's a silence. And this is a deeper level of meditation. And in that silence, you suddenly begin to see the world as it is. And you don't see any past. You don't see any future. You don't see any difference between yourself and the rest of it. That's just an idea.
These experiences reconnect you and reawaken you.
You can't find any material body, because material body is an idea. So is spiritual body. This is somebody's philosophical notions. See, reality isn't material. That's an idea. Reality isn't spiritual. That's an idea. Reality is so we find, if I've got to put it back into words, that we live in an eternal now. You've got all the time in the world, because you've got all the time there is, which is now. And you are this universe.
If the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear as it is. Infinite.
These experiences reconnect you and reawaken you.
Relative time in space. It means life.
We are given one precious human life. 100 years probably at the most, and much less for many of us. And we might never have been, but by some miracle we are. And we're having this adventure, I don't take it for granted. How can we make it most beautiful, most productive, most meaningful? What's unfolding in this little moment in history that we can contribute to?
You can't put into words, really. Timelessness, sacredness, feeling of perfection in the way reality is unfolding.
Life only lets you see one day at a time.
Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards.
Movies don't really move. Just pictures, lots and lots of pictures. All of them still, none of them moving, just frozen moments. If you experience those pictures one after the other, then everything comes alive. Imagine if time all happened at once. Every moment would out around you like a city. Streets full of buildings made of days. The day you were born, the day you die, the day you fall in love, the day that love ends. A whole city built from triumph and heartbreak and boredom and laughter and cutting your toenails. It's the best place you will ever be.
Some people get a glimpse that we are no longer this poor little stranger and afraid in a world it never met, but that you are this universe, and you are creating at every moment, because you see it starts now. It didn't begin in the past. There was no past. See, if the universe began in the past, when that happened, it was now. See, but it's still now. And the universe is still beginning now, and it's trailing off like the wake of a ship from now. And the wake of the ship fades out, so does the past.
Time doesn't pass. The passage of time is an illusion, and life is the magician.
The point is to recognize the fundamental nature of conscious experience. And by doing so, to clear up some basic confusion about the nature of the self. And this confusion has a kind of structure. Consider by analogy the confusion we might have about space and time.
About time.
That's a very big question.
It seems possible to ask the question, where is space? But of course, the concept of where is entirely dependent on the notion of space. Similarly, we might ask, when did time begin? But this very question invokes the intuition of time in full. There can be no beginning to time in that sense. And nothing changes when we graduate to the concept of space-time. One simply can't wonder about the where and the when of it without stepping into its conceptual frame. Now, there's an analogy to be drawn to the nature of consciousness in this moment, and to the sense of self, the feeling that there's a subject at the center of experience, doing the experiencing. You might ask the question, who or what is experiencing my experience in this moment? But every reference point for who or what is part of experience itself. There is no who or what apart from whatever appears. There's no one standing on the riverbank watching the contents of consciousness flow by. There's only the river. You're not aware of consciousness and its contents. You are aware as consciousness and its contents. And the sense that there is someone being aware is itself more of the contents. Right now, you are not having an experience from someplace outside of experience. You are identical to experience. Can you feel that?
We're overlooking the significance of the world by our constant quest for it later. The significance of the world seems to be the world, seems to be what is going on now. Don't look any further. The scheme of things seems to justify itself at every moment of its unfoldment. I pointed out that this was particularly a characteristic of music. It's also a characteristic of dancing, as something that is fulfilled in itself. To dance is not to be going anywhere. We don't have a destination, we're just going round the room. Even though this doesn't point to anything outside itself, we again get the sense of meaning.
I dance my truth to the music of birdsong, dance the movement of the forest as it sways in the breeze. I dance the patterns on the wings of butterflies, the veins of the leaves and the bark of the trees. I'm dancing inside to the rhythms of the moon as the seasons dance in spirals, circling me. I can answer life's questions when I dance into stillness, and the solar system spins on alongside me. Now I'm shifting my perception from linear reality. Past and future dance together, infinitely. Time and space, so physics says, are one and the same thing, and we slip in and out of parallel realities. I dance my truth at an ancient stone circle. I dance a path of those who've trodden here before me. I dance into the realm of the pixies and the fairies, and the elemental forces within me dance free. On a hillside in the moonlight, the tribal drumming, the flames of a fire dance alongside me. Ever changing, not repeating, no pattern or symmetry. Is it dance or dancer that is consistently me? Am I dancing through my life, creating my reality, or am I the driver who is holding the reins of some etheric horse, allowing me illusions of control as the energy of life is dancing through my veins? And I can dance my truth on a crowded dance floor with music pulsating like the planet's heartbeat and coloured light swirling like the movement of galaxies, the energy flowing to my head and my feet. I dance away my daily concerns and inhibitions, my busy mind clears, my emotions release. I dance the weight of gravity, the lightness of fantasy. I dance away the world and I find myself at peace. And I'm playfully unraveling strands of reality like a kitten teasing at a ball of string, and even though I know I can't make sense of it logically, I feel that I can dance through whatever life might bring.
Time is a structure relative to ourselves.
The years teach us much which the days never knew.
None of this is to underrate the real uses of time, that is to say of clocks, because all time is a matter of clocks. There is no time in nature. There is rhythm in nature, yes, there is motion in nature. But the clock as a measure of motion, the calibration of the clock, whereby we have hairlines to designate the point at which the second occurs, is symbolic of the emptiness of our moments. When the moment is reduced to a hairline, you feel that it's here and gone, that you can't ever really be now because it's all flying away. It isn't fleeting at all. The moment is always with you. And this is the point, to understand this is the point of all those spiritual exercises which are concerned with concentrating on what you are doing now. The entire art of it is to have complete presence of mind. To be completely with doing just this thing. There is nowhere else to be but the moment. You cannot be anywhere else. It is an extraordinary experience to overcome the illusion that there really is time.
These experiences reconnect you and reawaken you.
You suddenly understand that the whole point of life is what you're doing, where you are. So, to put it in another way, what you call time is not something into which you have been dropped, as if somebody had dropped you onto an escalator and you suddenly found yourself carried by it. What you call the experience of time is you.
Time is the space made by our lives.
What makes us feel that any period of time has been well spent? It's not really a matter of what you do with your time. The experience of meaning, the feeling of connection, the sense of depth, depends much more on the quality of your attention. Whatever you're about to do, see if you can make the experience meaningful based on how you pay attention, in the presence of whatever happens next.